Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Modeling and Wellbeing Podcast. This is your girl, Larissa. And I just want to remind everyone that this space is used to empower, uplift, and inspire one another about modeling tips, about wellness tips, and anything in between. So I am so excited today because we have another guest on the show, very special guest that I'm excited to chat with today. And I'm really excited for you to get to know him. He's a very talented actor involved in a lot of things like musical theater and film, represented by Dream Talent Agency, and is an inspiration who also relocated from the Midwest, the good old Midwest, like myself, to Georgia. I had the pleasure to meet him while we were doing table reads for the first, well, number one, the Atlanta Whims Festival back in November. And then actually just recently for the Atlanta Women's Comedy Festival, which he absolutely crushed the roles. I mean, I have like a 1 minute video that I sent him. So welcome, Kyle.
I'm
How are
I'm
you
I'm
doing?
doing
Thank you so
great.
much for
You're
being
so you're
here.
such a giving person. Like throughout all that, I was listening to that, and you sound so
Oh,
professional too. I love it. It was really great. I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm
Hmm.
doing good. It's Friday, and I don't know about you, but it's exciting that it's Friday because that means I don't have a formal job as I used to, my 9 to 5, but still, when you are your own boss, you still have your own schedule, and
That
the
sounds
weekend is
phenomenal.
still my
That
weekend.
sounds phenomenal.
So
Fridays are.
I'm doing good.
I'm working.
Yes.
I work at a restaurant, and I'm probably going to get out about midnight tonight. So my Fridays are more like my Mondays.
Mm. Oh yeah. Yes, that's awesome. Well, let's kind of dive right into things. So one thing I will say, when we were at the Comedy Film Festival, and at the end when we were mingling and everything, we actually started to kind of talk about your wellness journey, and just how that's been impacting you throughout your life and everything. And I think we both were naturally like, oh my gosh, like you totally need to be part of the
Yeah,
show.
it was just us talking, and I just was thinking about how I could contribute and be helpful because I know this means a lot to you, and this has been something I've kind of been developing on and off over the last couple of years, ever since I went to college about
Mhm.
5 years back. So yeah, no, I'd love to talk to you about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, before we kind of go into the wellness piece of things, I just wanted to just actually dive, kind of reeling back a little bit, but diving into your acting and your journey thus far. So, you moved from Iowa
Yep.
to good old Georgia. We were both like, "Oh my gosh, you're from Minnesota, you're from Iowa." Like, wow. So, tell me about that journey and just what inspired or
Yeah,
influenced you
definitely.
to be
So
down
I grew
south?
up in Iowa City, Iowa. I grew up in a pretty nice community for the most part. Education was a big deal, and there was a lot of small arts community going on. And I, around high school, started doing theater and found myself wanting more opportunities. Started doing musical theater. Found myself in the larger community theater circuit, and eventually I was accepted to Point Park University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I studied musical theater there for 4 years. I received my BFA in 2021. And for that year afterwards, I was kind of just doing nothing, to be perfectly honest. I was saving up as much money as I could. My
Mm.
girlfriend and I, we both knew when we were just meeting each other that we kind of wanted to go to Atlanta. And so for that year, I just said, okay, I'm just going to work. I'm just going to make as much cash as I can to try to make it an easier transition. And about 8, 9 months ago, I moved down here and said, okay, I'm going to this thing that I've always loved doing, this thing I've always been fascinated about. I'm going to make it an actual professional career now. And this was because
Mm-hmm.
I was seeing a lot of teachers at the time at Point Park. They were saying you got to move down to Atlanta, and everyone said, oh, we're going to go to New York, we're going to go LA. And I said, nah, that's not really for me. Those markets are great for what they're trying to do, but they're not quite what I'm looking for. And Atlanta seemed like the best option, so I just found myself here, and it's been very different than I expected it to be. But I have to say that I don't have
Mm-hmm.
any regrets about moving down here at all.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it does take, I feel like, a level of courage to move from your hometown. So I love that it sounds like you were really supported by your girlfriend and you were getting the pieces together to come
Absolutely.
down here and pursue your passion. And it takes a certain type of person to do that. And I think if people aren't aware, Atlanta is probably becoming one of the most kind of hot areas. I feel like especially since they built Tyler Perry Studios down here, or when he built that here, like a lot of people from LA, New York, like people are just like moving down here because the acting, the modeling, the just talent industry is starting to really grow. And is that, Kyle, something that you've been noticing too a lot, like with different
Oh,
opportunities that you've been able
absolutely.
to tap into down here?
It's been slowly happening,
Mm,
from my knowledge, for about the last decade through tax incentives and whatnot, for production companies move down here.
mm,
And when those production companies move down here, then everything else moves down. Like Marvel has Trilith Studios down here. I think they were shooting the first Spider-Man movie down
mm.
here. Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Oh,
It's awesome.
so cool.
And Tyler Perry obviously has been leading the charge. Atlanta has been huge in the fact
Mhm,
that, like, it used to be 20 some years ago, you would cast someone and bring them from LA to
mhm,
shoot down here, but now we're getting Atlanta actors to star in Atlanta productions, and it's afforded me opportunities.
mhm,
When I moved down here, I had very little credits, and just working knowledge from college, and I was able to find representation with Dream Team Talent. And that was because they started in Chicago and they've been moving all over the country to try to set up offices, and they chose Atlanta of all places. And on paper, that doesn't really make any sense. It's like, okay,
mm.
why, if you're trying to secure the markets, okay, like definitely like hit up LA and New York, but why are you hitting up Atlanta? And it's because there are opportunities down
Mhm.
here, that just they can't be they can't be understated. There's a burgeoning market down here, um, and it's been very bountiful and beneficial.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like
Oh yeah,
what is it? Stranger Things, they've like some of our favorite shows have been filmed down here, which is kind of insane. I think they even
hmm
have a Stranger Things experience here where you can tour exactly
it's
where they
funny that you
filmed and
mentioned.
everything, which is just insane.
It's funny that you
Like
mentioned
I need
Stranger
to do
Things.
that.
I One of my teachers is Catherine Dyer, and she is an Atlanta actor who's been down here for 10 years, and she was on Stranger Things. Yeah, she was gosh,
Wow.
what would she have been?
That's
She would have
crazy.
been a recurring guest star, I want to say, maybe co-star. I can't remember her exact billing, but she was this agent that was in like the first season that by the end of it gets exploded. It's just
Wow.
wild.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then we all think that Hopper's
I have no
dead
clue.
and
I only
oh,
saw the
spoiler
first
alert for
season.
anyone
I saw the first
that.
season, then the last
Okay.
season, so I'm like completely out of the loop.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I hate spoiler alert, so sorry for anyone that listens to this
You can
and
always
didn't
mess
see
with it in
it,
the edit.
but you'll be good. You'll still enjoy it just as much. Exactly. That's awesome. So what have been some of your favorite like projects that you've done so far here or even I
Yeah,
mean in your
so
career? It doesn't have to just
I
be in
I
Georgia.
I look back, and college productions were really cool. I have to say, I did theater in that, and I was put in two conservatory shows, one before COVID and one in the middle of it. So it was a Zoom production, and those were both very interesting. Down here, What was I doing? I was doing extra work one time because I figured that it would be better to get out of the house than to get on a set. And I found myself with
Mm-hmm.
this. I can't remember what the production company it was, but it was for a feature film called The Player, which was very interesting, and getting to just be a fly on the wall. It's just doing background, trying to populate the scene, and I'm watching these actors just conduct themselves with such professionalism and kindness. There's this one actor named Najma. I don't know if you've ever met her, but she just, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm keeping to myself. I'm doing my thing. I understand like what my role in this scene is, and she just comes over and she starts talking to
Mm-hmm.
me and asking me like what's going on, and that level of just kindness and humbleness. It's very it just you can't understate like how much like that how meaningful that is as someone who's getting their career off the ground and just there to
Mm-hmm.
make the place look alive, and having someone who went through the audition, the callback process, see me and treat me like a human being in that way. And it's small, but extra work
Mm-hmm.
can be really demanding. It's usually very thankless, and very very difficult stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta say
Mm-hmm.
that was it was just a beautiful moment. I gotta say, and I got to make great friends on that. Otherwise, just
Yeah.
classes are what keep me going down here, to be perfectly honest, while I'm trying to get projects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
have to work on your craft for sure. Like you have to be invested in yourself. And like I'm telling y'all, like
Oh,
Kyle
stop
really did a great job in this. He really like
it.
embodying. No, I'm serious. I think I remember telling you that too. I'm
Thank
like,
you.
you you did a good job in your roles and just embodying your characters. So of course, like, everything that you're doing, you're investing into yourself and you're getting better at your craft. And one thing that you mentioned about when you were speaking to the actress was the fact that you were kind of surprised by them treating you as a human. And I think it's unfortunately so sad that our culture, because of our culture, like we get surprised
Mm,
about things that technically should be normal, right? And sometimes when people see you as a person, it really makes you feel like connected. It makes you feel special as a person, like because people can be a diva in this industry. And I think you said a key word of just being humble as much as possible really goes a long way and probably even allows you to attract more
absolutely,
opportunities
absolutely.
too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, um, I know that I, I I think I share with you like I'm not super involved in the acting part of things. I'm like probably like 25% acting, 75% modeling, fashion modeling and stuff like that. But I know that art is art and the industry is pretty much overlapped. Um, I know that sometimes too there can be tons of pressure, tons of anxiety, tons of, just being hard on ourselves when it comes to this industry. So, what has your relationship been with your wellness as you've been working as an artist,
I mean,
or in
it's
general?
always a work in progress. It's
Hmm.
as you're saying, like it's tough. It's
Hmm.
tough just starting out. It's tough being in the middle of it. I have teachers who
Hmm.
are seasoned and they have like 10, 20 years in the business, and they can't get a job right now,
Hmm.
and I think about it, it's like I just want a job, and it causes all that stress and anxiety. But then I look at people who in my brain
Yeah.
they made it, and they
Hmm.
they so it's struggle, it's stress all around, and sometimes it's really hard. It's hard balancing it out. I have a girlfriend who I very much love and see a future with. I have this cat running around. I have to, it's important to take classes and to find ways to improve your craft while, having a job. And that can be a lot to balance on your own. So wellness kind of looks different, on a daily basis. It's sometimes that for
Mm-hmm.
me is taking care of myself and playing video games for 3 4 hours, when I don't have anything going on. What I do
Mm-hmm.
find though is some level of motion is helpful. So there's this YouTuber whose handle is Yoga with Adrian, and like I love Adrian. She's so
Oh,
great.
I know
She
her. I like her. Me too.
she's so
I love
calm, and
her.
she has this
Love her
great
voice
dog in
too.
the videos. But like every year, she does these 30-day
Mm-hmm.
yoga challenges. I always find those really nice. I've been going to the gym more because I really enjoy
Mm-hmm.
weightlifting, and that helps
Mm-hmm.
get me on my head a little bit more. It's difficult being militant about it all, and I think that kind of erases the point. It's not meditating because I have to meditate. It's meditating because I want to meditate. So sometimes I do those every single
Mm-hmm.
day for like 6 months. Sometimes I take a break. Um, but I find that connecting to
Mm-hmm.
things that matter to me, such as journaling, spending quality time with Grace, working out, writing, doing those things that fulfill me, instead of just getting caught up in the trance of, as much as I love entertainment and video games,
Mm-hmm.
watching movies and whatnot, realizing that maybe that 24/7, as much as I think that that's relaxing, isn't actually doing that deep healing that I need it to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's powerful. I feel like it's so important for us to step outside of our bodies and our mind and just the chatter in our life. And also being a talent, we're rejected a lot, and that could affect our mentals a lot. So it's like, what are we doing to step outside of what's going on in order to take care of ourselves? And I love the fact that you said, like, hey, sometimes self-care wellness for me looks like playing video games. I don't need to force myself to be busy 100% of the time because it's like my body needs to kind of detox in a way. So I think that's powerful. And do you feel like you've always had sort of a relationship with wellness, or do you think that kind of came a little bit later in life, or, were you exposed to that, throughout your childhood? And, so just when did that seed start planting within you? Because I know that there's like a big mental health movement now, but for some people, that's always been kind of a
Definitely.
core value of
Um,
theirs.
for me, it didn't really pop up until around college. I remember I read a
Hmm.
book, I think it was called Cryptid Hunters or something, when I was a child, and this character carried around a moleskin journal, and I thought that was so interesting. And I begged my mama to get me a journal, and I wrote one word in it. And then 10 years later, when I went to college, I actually filled out that journal. But it, I didn't understand. I
Wow,
didn't see the
that's cool.
value. And so I started journaling
Hmm.
like in college. I think I had meditated like once or twice, maybe prior. But I started doing a lot more of that, particularly when COVID hit. And I had done exercise like in grade school and whatnot. I was doing strength training in high school,
Hmm.
but it didn't. But the pieces didn't really come together until about college. And again, like with a full course load, it would like come and then it would go. And particularly as an adult, like now out of college, it's about just trying to trying to remind myself that yeah, no, I really do enjoy leg day. It really does suck sometimes, but it does. I do feel infinitely better about myself when I do journal, when I do connect to all
Yeah.
this. It is easier for me, and a lot of it had to do
Hmm.
with the internet and giving me like resources and saying, okay, these things are helpful, and some of it was, some of it's not. You have to find what works for
Hmm.
you. Just because something works for someone else doesn't mean that you're meant to
Hmm.
that doesn't mean that you're meant to journal 10 pages a day, or you know run a like 5 miles every morning. It's about finding what
Yeah.
naturally works for you, and then just building layers and
Mm-hmm.
just building repetition with it. Um, Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And accepting
Oh,
that
definitely.
what works for you now might evolve based on your
Definitely.
needs in the future, too. Yes, yeah, because we grow, we mature, priorities change. I mean, I'm sure if we are parents, like self care is gonna look a little bit different for us, right? Or when we do get married, stuff like that. It's just gonna be completely different. So I love that. What do you believe that? What kinds of wellness practices do you believe that like actors or talent should be mindful of as they are working in the
I think
industry?
that's a tough one. I find that what works for me is very helpful. I think that
Hmm.
first off, therapy is very important. That's something that I'm kind of out of right now.
Hmm.
But I found a lot of value in therapy.
Hmm.
I didn't want to do it for years. I said, no, I'm this just toxic thought process of saying, oh, I'm strong enough to deal with it all on my own. And that's completely not the
Hmm.
case.
Hmm.
I think that talent, just regular people just need to get therapy. There's no shame in it. I had a great therapist. His name was
Hmm.
Henry. We would talk about anime, and he would give me advice about my life by using quotes from Game of Thrones. Like that was our relationship, and it was. And I
Wow.
would talk to my girlfriend. I'm like, can't wait to talk to
Yeah.
Henry. Therapy, I think, is very important, and I think that
Mm.
all that goes around it. I think meditation, journaling is helpful just to get out of your head, to be able
Mhm.
to put some distance between yourself and your thoughts. It's so often there's all these stresses about like whether or not you're going to get the part, whether or not you're going to be chosen for a thing when it's
Mhm.
entirely out of your hands. Like so much goes into
Mm.
casting, so much that goes into
Mhm.
opportunities that it usually at the end of the day you can get written off by something just because you remind a casting director of their ex. Like you there's so much you can't control.
Mhm.
That's important to just go back to basics and find
Yeah.
that joy and play and exploration of yourself ultimately.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that and this reminder that like sometimes we can take rejection or not being selected personal when essentially what I'm hearing is
Oh,
like
absolutely.
it probably has nothing to do with you, right? It like literally there's it's out of our control, like you said, and kind of going back to what things work for your mental health to help you balance out and help you release some of what you've been impacted about. And I love that you mentioned the therapy piece too. So I appreciate you for sharing that because I feel like we do need more testimonials of like, hey, I've been in therapy and like this looks different for everyone. So I thought that was a super cool example of like, yeah, I
Yes.
connect with my therapist through Game of Thrones. Like I would have never I would have never, guessed anything like that. And just to show that it can be fun and you can connect with your therapist in a deeper level. And I know that me as a person of color, right, and a person that identifies as Black, like I went to therapy for a couple of years, and there's still that taboo that we're strong enough, and especially in the Black community, I can hold everything together and I don't need help. Well, it's not really. It is help, but it's really just having like another resource to lean on outside of your family and friends. We need a balance. And so if anyone's listening, I encourage that you just look into it, explore your options with therapy, and especially if you're a talent, you might need that extra kind of pick me up if you're ever having a hard time in your career. So that's awesome. And so, a couple questions here for you, Kyle. I am wondering, just given what you know about your profession. You know, you're growing in this industry, you're doing wonderful things. What advice what advice would you give to aspiring talent or actors or actresses, existing actresses, and just any advice that you would share to anyone wanting to get into this field?
You know, that's tough because it still feels like I'm an aspiring talent, you know? I'm still trying to just start it. But the main thing is that I've had to come to conclusions that this does not work at my timetable at all. You know, it's when I moved down here, I take classes with Drama Inc. and they have some amazing teachers there.
Mhm.
And there was a questionnaire that they make you fill out like before your first class, and it's like, well, what do you hope to accomplish, or what? Paraphrasing it, but like, what are your goals in the artistic? And I said, oh, and this was like six months ago. I said, oh, I'm going to be in two non-union films, and I'm going to have a supporting role. I'm going to be a co-star in this, and
Mhm.
part of it was like I wanted to like show I was serious, but it takes time. It takes time. I don't know how many auditions I've thrown myself at over the last 6 8 months, and but it's you just
Mhm.
keep on doing it and until it happens. Plenty of artists, actors. What is his name? Whoever played Dwight in The Office, Rain Wilson, or yeah, he. I think
Oh.
he
Mhm.
prior to The Office, he was doing theater for 10 years, but he wasn't there. There wasn't
Wow.
a massive role. Um, Jenna Fisher before The Office was. Um, I have a lot of Office references because she wrote a book about, I think it was called The Actor's Life, and but she had done like a few bit pieces, maybe some mid-size. She, after like 5 10 years, landed The Office, and the rest was history. But then her co-star, whoever played Jim,
Wow.
just he, I think it was like only a couple years after college, just you never know how this is going to go. Matthew McConaughey can attribute majority of his career because he got drunk with the producer one night at a bar that he just randomly met, crashed on his couch later in LA. It helped him get on a Linklater film, and that's where he got his quintessential all right like line. But it wasn't for a speaking role. He was
Wow.
basically a featured
Mhm.
extra. But then Linklater was like, "Oh, we like it. Here you go." It's you
Mhm.
can't plan any of this. And as much as you want it, you have to just keep on going. And an audition is a success. A callback is a success. Getting an agent to respond to you is a success. You have to measure it and reframe your metrics of success. If you're framing it by I'm
Mhm.
not walking down the red carpet at the Emmys, you're probably going to be very disappointed. It's probably going to be very painful. But if you're
Yes.
thinking, I got a self tape audition, that's insane because that means that casting director
Mhm.
was sent, for making it metrics easy, they were sent 1,000 submissions. 100 got the opportunity to audition. Maybe 10 got a callback, and then one person got the role. You still beat out 900 people to get that audition. Like, that is phenomenal.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Preach.
And it's tough. It's like I intellectually understand this, but it still is tough, just like going through it and having to remind yourself that no, this is what it means to being a working artist. It's like you count your wins, you figure out a way to keep on doing it, and you do it because you love it. And if you need to take a step back from the business, take a step back from the business. Like, nobody quits acting because they say, I hate acting on a stage. Like, I would imagine that no model says, oh,
Mhm.
I hate doing the actual modeling, so I'm going to stop modeling. They stop because of the business. And if you need to take a break for a little while, by all means. But
Mhm.
if you have a burning passion for it, then you're probably going to find yourself back in it, like for whether or not you want to or not. But
Right.
if you have like that love and that desire, you got to keep on doing it. You can't let it go out. And if you don't, and it's just something that like doesn't make an impact, it's okay to step back. It can be a thankless work sometimes, but if you love it, like by all means.
Yes, I love that, Kyle. Thank you for those like wise words. And you know, it's just so real. I always love to say this, but the difference between someone who is and is not successful is consistency. It's those who keep going. It's not about luck or any of that stuff. They just kept going and waited till something stuck, you know. And like you said, that journey looks different for everyone, so just stay in your lane and just keep going in that lane and focus on the road and not anything that's happening on the sidelines, because we also want you to stay on the road, like try not to get distracted too much, but also have fun with it is what I'm hearing. Like you have to have fun. Like if it's really not fun, like maybe you should actually find something else. But have fun with it if it's something that you love and you really see for yourself as far as a career or a passion or whatever, and just go with your heart. Like anything that we love to do or anything that we want to accomplish is never going to be super easy anyway. So it's like you might as well just do the thing that you love, work hard, be challenged versus doing something that you're not so happy in and you're still working hard
Oh,
and you're still being challenged. Yes. Well, Kyle, it was so amazing having you on the show. Before we end, I love to end every podcast episode with affirmation. So just like this space is for our listeners, it's a space for me, it's a space for you. And so I would love for you to share three affirmations that are speaking to you right now. They could be I am statements, I will, or whatever comes
Okay.
to mind.
I
Three of
haven't
them
done
that
this
you
in a
like
hot
to
second.
share.
First off, I am enough. You know, um, geez, that's the big one for me. Geez, just knowing that whatever you have is enough. You're not getting roles or getting bookings because you're someone else. It's because you're you. You know. The other one that you're not weak. I'm a very sensitive person, and I sometimes mistake that sense of feeling as weakness when it's not. It's a show of strength. Um, and I guess the last one, more so for like talent and to remind myself that we're on the right path. You know, even when you don't know where it's going. These careers, these lives, they don't have paths. You know, it's not like you start off this, then you start off that. It's like you never know what's gonna happen.
Right.
But that's also very freeing. You know, because that could mean that something you never imagined is right out of the corner. I could get like handed a skit comedy thing next month, you know, or I could be doing a drama next week. Like you never know. You never know.
Yeah, yay. Well, I feel like we're all going to have to like keep up with you because I always believe that good people, good spirits, good hearts, they're always going to prosper. And I always feel that energy with you, Kyle. Every time I talk to you, I always feel like you're just a very genuine person and know that that goes a long way. And I'm really excited to just see you in your career keep growing. I mean, who knows? You might be in some sort of,
Oh,
I don't know,
please,
Marvel
please.
movie filmed in Atlanta
Any
here in
execs
like
that
a
might
year.
listen, please. I'd love to be alternate universe. Please make me alternate
Book
universe Spider-Man
Kyle.
like 52. Like
I love it. I love it. Well, oh,
yeah.
how can we follow
So
or keep
I'm
up with
on
you in the
Instagram.
future?
It's let me pull it up. I believe it's Kyle_Irish-Gorvin. That's my main thing. You can also find me on IMDb as Kyle Irish-Gorvin. Those are the main ones. I have a TikTok. I kind of just use it to throw whatever cheap laughs I can get. but it's Notorious KIG. I'm not going to plug that as hard.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'll also get those links so that people you can access it in the bio section of this podcast or YouTube, wherever you're watching or listening. Um, well, with that being said, Kyle, I'm so grateful that you were one of our guests here. It was so amazing getting to know you deeper. And thank you all so much for listening. I will talk to you soon. XOXO and bye.